Hey guys, happy Saturday. Okay, so I want to jump on here. Let's see, I don't remember what day of goals we're actually on, but today we're going to talk about habits and just kind of like what do habits do to our life, our lifestyle? How do they benefit us? How do they hurt us? Um, but more specifically, what do our bad habits cost us? So let's think about social media, which is funny because you're on social media right now if you're watching me. But let's say you scroll for 5 minutes. And let's be honest, do you scroll for 5 minutes or are you scrolling for 45 minutes? Or is it 3 hours at night when you should be sleeping, right? Every time that little, I think it's a weekly report that pops up on the phone and tells you what your average screen time is, do you ever just like ignore that and pretend that that's not what you're actually doing, or it must be wrong? Maybe, oh, I must not have turned my phone off. Do you make excuses for that? Or do you actually own how much time you were spending on your phone scrolling mindlessly? Okay. So what does it cost us? Are we spending time envying others and what they have, their highlight reel of life? Like we go back to what we talked about this week, and when we start comparing ourselves to the lives that we see on social media, we are seeing a highlight reel for most people on social media. And so we compare our entire life to these little hot moments of theirs, right? And so in reality, like you're not comparing apples to apples, right? So this habit of scrolling mindlessly for whether it's 5 minutes, 3 hours, however long, however much time you are spending, it leads to envying people. It leads to thinking that your life isn't good enough, that you're not worthwhile. It might lead to depression. So that's one habit that can lead to so many negative things in our life, and it eats away at our mental strength, that particular habit, because we're not exercising our brain, we're not bringing in a ton of positive thoughts, and it's not life giving. So, um, another habit is just our self talk and our self pity, and that kind of links to social media. But how often do we feel bad for ourselves? Do we feel that we weren't given what we should have been given? And it can magnify misfortune, and so we can become so negative in our self talk that even like the smallest things they set us off, and we don't have a positive outlook on life. We don't see the actual value we have around us. We don't cherish the people we're surrounded with. We don't realize how lucky we are to live where we live. And, maybe you have a smaller house, or maybe you don't have a house, you're living with your parents or in an apartment, but like still you're safe. And there's so many things that we need to be focusing on, but our negative self talk is always coming in and telling us that we don't have enough, that we need more, or that Amazon catalog shows up and we don't have the newest this or that. And we really need to make a habit of focusing on the positive rather than focusing on the negative all the time. And oftentimes that self-talk in our head is negative, and we have to teach ourselves to be positive and to say positive things, and that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of intention, but it's something that I really want us to focus on as a goal in 2022. And, you know, we get stuck in this why me situation, or a victim mentality. Like, why is it always me? Why do I always, pull the short straw? And the more you think that, the more that's how you're going to see your life, right? If we aren't seeing things through like a lens of blessings, we're not going to see things as blessings around us. We're going to see them as, well, I only got this and this person got this much, but we don't realize maybe what having that much actually brings to the table. That's a lot more work. Maybe, we don't see that our simple life is actually a huge benefit, and it actually brings a lot more joy than the life that we see that we think we want. Also, expecting success. A lot of people, I think, just they don't want to work hard anymore. And I've seen that a lot in the last 2 years, is that there's this habit of just waiting for something to happen and not putting in the work or the hard effort, or just not even hard effort, even just intentional effort to actually bring good things into your life. If you're just sitting there waiting, honestly, I mean, good things are going to happen, but it's not going to be the same as if you actually intentionally seek out the positive. You seek out the opportunities that you want, because you can do anything with your life. You can be anyone, you can have any career, but you have to figure out how to make that happen, and you have to put in the work and the intention into it. Mental strength is a lot like physical strength. So back to, the habits and just what we're doing, that self-talk. So if you were wanting to look a certain way, like you wanted to have the six-pack abs, yada yada, maybe you want to be a certain, weight or size, which is a whole nother thing. You would understand that you have to do hard work, that you have to work out, you have to do maybe have a certain meal plan, or you're going to follow something, and you understand that if you don't put in the effort, if you're not intentional, you're not going to wake up one day and be like, check out the six-pack abs, right? Like you get it. There's a process. You put in a certain amount of effort to receive those things. And mental strength is the same thing. We have to put in work to help us have the positive self-talk, to have the positive mindset, to actually be able to see our blessings, to understand what we actually have. You have to put in the work. And so one thing this whole thing here that we're going to work on in 2022 is about building that mental strength as intentionally as we would build the physical strength. So what we're going to work on for this habit in particular, and this goal overall, is just practicing gratitude. And a lot of people, just like if you bring up affirmations, they're going to roll their eyes at you. But what I want you to do is each day, we're going to, as we're working through our goals, we're going to write one thing, just at least one. Eventually, I would like you to do more, but one thing that you were thankful for that day. And gratitude's huge, guys. Like, we go back to when we talk about relationships. If you focus on the positive of, whether it's your parents, your spouse, your best friend, or whoever, whatever relationship you're trying to work on, if you focus on every night being like, how am I thankful for them? What's the gratitude there? And write it down slowly. That's how you're going to see them. You're going to start seeing them in that positive light. No matter how painful it is or difficult it is for you to write down the things you're thankful for with that person, if you are intentional and do it every single day, you're going to change your mental view on them. It's a mental strength thing, right? Like, so the work you put into your six-pack abs, that's how you start putting work into your mental strength, is you make these habits intentional. And giving up resent, okay? So many people, we get hung up in being resentful, and there's nothing positive that comes from that. And there's a lot of trauma out there. There's a lot of things that have caused resent. So we're not gonna dive into that right now, but just have that in your mind. Like, how can you give up resent? And then our final thing here on this is that you need to accept that you are your own person and you are responsible for your own person. Others can't hold you back. And we blame people, especially like our parents or a boss or a teacher, an ex or whatever. We blame people all the time for what we didn't get. Or we blame them for where we aren't yet. Like, well, I would have had that job. I would have done this in life. I would have been more successful. I would have been happier if so-and-so did. Okay. We've all heard the statements. We probably all have made the statements, but in reality, you are responsible for you, and you are responsible for your life and where you're going. Okay. So those are my thoughts today on just habits and some things that we're going to be focusing on in 2022. And so your homework for tonight is to figure out how you're going to practice gratitude. And I want you to physically write it down. And so as you're physically writing down some of the goal brainstorming that we're doing, I want you to physically write down who you're going to practice gratitude with, or maybe it's just your life or an area of your life. Maybe it's work. And then one thing a day. You're going to focus on trying to be thankful for one thing a day related to that topic that you've chosen. And then I want you to start brainstorming how you can give up resent in 2022 and start thinking through the fact that you are responsible for yourself and what that means for you. Okay, so far in our 2022, it's kind of hard. It's crazy to think that it's almost 2022. I feel like it's still 2019. Let's see, what is our goals? I'm all over the place in my journal here. Hold on. I don't know. Okay, so we went over career goals. So we're going to focus on our career goals in 2022. Financial goals, relationship goals, and we've talked about others, our mindset towards others and their opinions of us, and then also our gratitude and our self-talk. And we're going to dive really deep into self-talk because it's huge. And we have other goals that we're going to bring up in the next week or two. But for now, go ahead and just keep journaling, keep brainstorming ideas. We don't have to take action yet. If you want to, that's great. But really right now, we're just getting ready to plan the goals that we're going to attack in 2022, just to better prepare us so that we're not scrambling January 1st when we realize we want to live a different way and we want to actually be intentional. So I love you all. Have a wonderful weekend and we will chat soon.